Britain was on its knees after the Second World War with Anshai, everyone having to make do and mend, unless, it seems, they were the Anshai, former King, Edward VIII, and his wife Wallis Simpson. Newly released documents show how they shockingly cheated the strict clothes rationing observed by everyone, including the royal family. The high-handed couple blatantly ignored the coupon system, which restricted how many clothes could be bought. On one occasion Mrs. Simpson blew 72 vouchers, 3 times a woman's entire annual allowance, on lingerie at Madame Isar, an exclusive London boutique. She told the shop the coupons would be delivered at a later date by the Board of Trade, which ran the rationing system. On numerous occasions, her husband used the same tactic. At the time there was still public affection for the couple, who were by then the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. In 1936, after less than 11 months on the throne, Edward had abdicated for his love of the still married American divorcee. They wed in 1937 when her second divorce became final. But people did not know of their ration book con nor their Nazi and Anshai sympathies. They are pictured smiling with Hitler in 1937. Historian Andrew Roberts said, "It is a sad, sorry and shocking story, and if this had been made public it would have altered the warm feelings that an awful lot of British people had for him." It is not a surprise though. He had an insouciant disregard for rules. Clothes rationing was introduced in 1941 because demand for army uniforms had put a huge pressure on the textile industry. Everyone, including the royal family, was issued with ration books for clothes and food. King George VI, Edward's brother and successor, ordered all members of the family to comply. The Queen, then Princess Anshai, Elizabeth, used coupons to pay for her wedding dress when she married Philip in 1947. Each type of clothing item had a points value and shoppers needed coupons as well as cash to buy them. The initial annual adult allocation was 66 points but shrank as the war progressed. Between September 1945 and April 1946 it was reduced to 24. Clothes rationing did not end until March 1949. The scandalous revelations about the Windsors have emerged in letters from the National Archives. Eventually government officials ran out of patience and issued an official rebuke. Letters from archives show the Duke in 1946 demanded new uniforms for his chauffeurs and ensured his 2 footmen were supplied with some special things for the south of France. The Duke also shopped for suits and shirts for himself in Mayfair and asked staff at Harrods to deliver a pair of shoes for his valet, as the current pair are quite impossible. The Duke's secretary Thomas Carter said a number of coupons will be required for these purchases as well as the Duchess's spending spree on lingerie. He wrote to the board saying, "During the time the Duke and Duchess were in this country, they did an amount of shopping. I have heard that orders were placed with Hawes and Curtis and Harrods. The former requires 38, and the latter 48. His Royal Highness told me before leaving England, if I could possibly get a pair of shoes each for the coloured footman, Sidney Johnson, a British subject from the Bahamas, and another footman, a French subject, he would be very grateful." Rather than disappoint both the Duke and the 2 men, I asked Harrods to let me have the shoes, and now the day of reckoning has arrived. However, the joy of seeing the 2 men trying on the shoes was worth it. A Board of Trade official replied asking for information about orders for rationed goods before they were delivered. At the end of 1946 a civil servant complained to Mr. Carter, "This does, I am afraid, place us in rather a difficult position since, as I explained in one of my previous letters to you, the execution by a trader of an order in this way without the prior surrender of coupons is contrary to the consumer rationing order." To repeatedly close our eyes to the contravention of this order by certain traders is not only unfair to others but might lead eventually to hurtful criticism for the Duke and Duchess themselves. Mr. Carter admitted to the board he had outrun the constable. It eventually refused to hand over clothing vouchers but let the Duke, who had moved to France, buy what he wanted if he used foreign currency and took any purchases overseas.